What is up, pimps? It's your boy KREE, and today we are going to discuss my tour of the West Memphis 3. Now, back in like the 90s, I want to say 94, 95, 93-ish or something, there was an incident that happened in West Memphis, Arkansas, where three small school children were found, bound, beaten, killed, and hauled off and tossed away into this wooded area. Now, this has been quite a controversial story for the last 20 years. There was actually three teens charged for the murders. One of them was on death row. He beat it. You know him as Damian Eccles. The other two guys, the Baldwin guy and Jesse Miss Kelly. We could sit here for hours and hours and hours and debate and discuss and talk about the trials, how it was a witch hunt, or did they do, or did they not? This has been such a controversial, open-ended subject that HBO has picked up on it. There's been actual movies and books and adaptations created around this whole phenomena. It was a really, really big deal because the murders were so gruesome and it was so random. And this is such a country-ass little town. Now, I'm from down here. This place was not far from me at all. So when this incident happened, I was a young boy. I was in fourth grade. These children were much younger than me at that time back then. So they've all been passed away and gone for over 20 years. It started this big thing. Like, my mother was like scared for me to go in the woods because it was creepy weirdos out there. Now, we lived back in the times where it wasn't so sensitive back then, but I think back in that time era, that's when things got a little crazy, where sometimes you kind of had to lock your doors or wonder where your children really were. But needless to say, it was a very, very tragic, terrible thing. It ruined and shattered three separate families. It was a really, really bad thing. And there's nothing I could do to justify in this video to explain or talk about. I mean, this little video is just a fragment of everything as a whole, not including what the world has dealt with as far of it. Like I said, a lot of families and lives ruined over this. It was a big mystery, controversial subject. But in this video, I kind of made a small, short compilation of our little tour. Once again, we got online and we looked up locations and places. And need I remind you, this was like maybe 17, 18 years after the incident. Or no, I think the fellas actually got released from prison, and we had went on this tour maybe a year or two after. But it's no secret. Everything's documented, addresses. None of these people live here anymore. We went to the actual locations. We went to burial sites. We went to all these controversial, open-ended theories that had been brought along in the story, because there was a lot of what-ifs. Like, nobody knew anything. But we're going to come across some of those, and we're going to talk about those. Let's check it out. West Memphis. Yeah, this is coming on into the city. It's kind of a little country area. There's really nothing out there. Just over the bridge out of the city of Memphis, you cross over the bridge, the Hernando de Soto, across the Mississippi River. This is what you get. It's like a really heavy trucker area and a lot of commerce. Okay, this was the neighborhood. This was the three-way that led out to the pipe bridge. As you can see, they've cut all the woods down where the bodies were found. This is the area where you would actually show up. And in these documentaries, this was a location on film of where a lot of the access entryway to the things would be. Now, this was back in 2013. This is many, many years later. We're now in 2019, so I had to dig up some old photos. And this isn't all the photos and videos, but this is just something. This was some apartments next door to the neighborhood where the boys lived. All three of the boys lived in the same neighborhood. Two of them lived almost right next to each other, and it wasn't far, right around the corner from this spot where two of the boys lived. But yeah, these apartments were just, run down. I don't know what happened. Vacant for a long time. Now, this is the infamous pipe bridge, the one you see in the documentaries, the photos, the videos. The people we went, they had went earlier, or they went back in the fall, and so the water was real low, but we went in the summer, and it was really, like, the water was high this time around. I've got their photos archived, too, somehow. But we're going to stick with the relative ones of when we went because of the seasonal differences. But yeah, that's the Pike Bridge. They found the bikes there. Police crawled all over that place. Now you got to imagine, it looks really desolate and empty right now. See, this is there would have been trees all over that, like a wooded area. And it was right by the interstate, right behind this neighborhood. So it's like you had the neighborhood, the murder area, and then the interstate. So it wasn't far from people. It's just they mowed all the trees down. They cut all that shit out. When all that stuff happened back then, they try to forget and move on. I think some of the actual creeks. Now, this might have been the area where the bodies were found, geographically speaking, but they filled it in, cut trees down, and you wouldn't be able to tell 20 years later. They've put up a hotel since over in that area. Now, there was a truck station, and one of the theories that they say maybe some trucker might have went deranged, and, you know, serial killers, truckers make really good serial killers because they're able to travel in and out of the states. We're going to show you a spot where this truck stop's no longer there. Here it is. They theorized that maybe he came out in the back way of the woods, found the kids playing in the woods, because what kid doesn't want to go play in the creek in the woods? It's just a big, huge deal. Like, some of the parents got blamed for the murders. I mean, there was also another theory that this man that showed up bloody in the Bojangles restroom had something to do with it. But unfortunately, the crime scene was cleaned up before the police actually got around to getting there and checking out all these weird allegations and phone calls and stuff. Now, this is the buyer's house. They no longer live there. You can ignore this fag right here. But this is the outside of the home. It was right across the street. There's the inside of this home. But across the street was Michael Moore's home. This is Chris Byers' house, little Chris. That family kind of fell apart. The Moores, that's their house right across the street. They end up moving away. You can see people are actually living there. Can't just walk up and do anything. But now this is the home of Stevie Branch. There was another movie shot off jointly of this based on this woman, his mom Pam, and the father, the stepdad there, was accused somewhat in the murder down the road. Broadway Park. Now, I believe this is the trailer park that maybe the police came and apprehended Damien and the guys. I think that's the trailer, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to say it was Damien's or maybe it was Jason Baldwin's, but it was someone's trailer that the police actually ultimately showed up and was like, they apprehended him. Now, this is the Bojangles restaurant. There was the theory here that early in the morning hours prior to the boys' death being found or something, there was a black man that showed up bloody, and he went to the women's restroom, and I don't know what he did, but he made a mess. We're not sure if he came out of the woods or something, but there was a creek. If you look at the map, there was a creek that led along behind from the murder spot where the boys were found all the way behind this place. So who knows if he had been cut up in the woods. I mean, there's so many theories as to why or how these boys could have been kidnapped and killed or whatnot. You know, it's crazy. This is the inside of the old Bojangles restaurant. This is elementary school. Now, this was right down the street from Michael Moore and Chris Byers' home. This is the outside of it. They actually have a memorial set up in the back. Here it is. It's under that little gazebo. Under that gazebo, you will see a plaque, a concrete plaque, commemorating the boys. You know, they were scouts, Boy Scouts and stuff. Stevie Branch, Christopher Byers, Michael Moore. Oh, it was in 93. Okay, so they passed away in 93. So, yeah, I was in 4th grade in 93, and these kids were much younger. Later on throughout this tour, it took us to, I want to say, further up in Arkansas. I can't remember the damn name. It's right up the street, but this is the grave of Michael Moore. Stevie was buried somewhere in Missouri, northern Missouri or something like that. Close to Illinois or something like that. Mark Byers, or Christopher Byers, he was buried in Memphis. This was on the way back. This is his mother. She ended up passing away some years after the tragic incident because she had health problems and eventually gave her worse health problems. But she's buried next to her boy. Like I said, this was a short, condensed down video. We've got plenty of other photos and stuff. I just tried to keep it relative and show you key places. But yeah, this is it. This was the 2013 tour of the West Memphis 3. Please subscribe, like, check it out. Come on back, give me a review. But RIP to the victims, RIP to the families. That's it for now. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. It's your boy KREE. I appreciate you visiting. I got to go. Peace.